Have you ever wanted to become a completely unhinged person and eat bread every single meal of the day, all day, every day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert? Well, now you can for the free price of one subscription and one like. All jokes aside, besties, let's get right into the menu. We're going to be making milk toast for breakfast. For lunch, we're going to have grilled cheese and some tomato soup. For dinner, we're going to be having biscuits and gravy, and usually that's for breakfast, but who cares? And for dessert, we're going to be having bread pudding, and it's going to be my first time eating or making bread pudding, so we'll see how that goes. Regardless, let's get right into breakfast.
What is going on here? Breakfast.
As I mentioned, we're making milk toast, and guess what you need for it? Milk and toast. I'm using milk bread, and basically you put it in a pan, you add a bunch of milk, and then you add some butter, and all you're gonna do is let it cook, flipping it over intermittently, wow, as your milk slowly gets soaked into the bread. It is basically the Chinese version of French toast, just like a quicker way to do it without eggs. Just keep doing it until it's caramelized, and it's looking kind of good, but I can tell you I've made a horrible mistake, but it doesn't matter. You just drizzle some condensed milk over it, or syrup if you want, but I think condensed milk tastes better, and then you eat it. As always, first bite is for you, bestie. The corner pieces are really good. They were like delicious because the milk cooked down with the butter and it got crispy. However, once I started getting into the middle, I noticed something really nasty, and let me show you.
Brother,
right? Very gross. But basically what happened is that milk bread is super soft, so the middle just got gummy and gunky, and it got really nasty. So my overall rating for the milk toast this time around is probably around a 4 out of 10. Definitely 4 out of 10. The middle was completely unedible and really disgusting. Yeah, so we're off to a horrible start for our bread day. Let's get into making the grilled cheese and the tomato soup. First off, the tomato soup will happen in 3, 2, 1. Ta-da! Magical Panera Dude tomato soup. Now for the grilled cheese, or should I say burnt cheese. I want to preface this by saying that I've maybe made a grilled cheese once or twice in my whole entire life. It's not just something I eat at home a lot. So I was going off a vague memory of how to do it, and I feel like I remember somebody saying you put mayo instead of butter.
literally lather with mayonnaise.
And then I added the only cheese I had at this time, which was left over from the Krabby Patties that I made, which is, I think it's cheddar or American, I'm not sure. I laid the slices on there, and then I added more mayo on the one side because I was gonna flip it over, and basically I just kept flipping it over and trying to get it to be melty. And here we go, you see me cut it in half, and you're like, oh my god, it's gonna be an amazing cheese bowl. No, it does not exist. And you're gonna be like, oh, look at that. And then I flipped it over. I kept flipping it over. I don't know why, because it's burnt. It's it's charcoal. It's so bad. So I took the 2 golden sides and I made a half sandwich for that. And then I took the 2 burnt sides. I tried to scrape off the burnt part, but yo, it was stuck on there. So my mom didn't raise somebody who wasted food. So I said, you know what, let me try it. And I took a bite and I immediately started choking. Ate the good sandwich, brought out my tomato soup, dipped it in there, and this was glorious. Like, it was so delicious. This is my favorite thing to order at Panera, so it was really good. And I finally got a cheese bowl from the good side of the sandwich, and it was spectacular. Yeah, my rating for this would be an 8 out of 10, just because the tomato soup is really good. The good part of the grilled cheese was good. It was milk bread with the cheddar and the mayo. Everything just worked together perfectly. It was delicious. I loved it. 8 out of 10. Next up is dinner, and we're gonna be making biscuits from scratch and sausage gravy, but the gravy doesn't have any actual sausage in it. Yeah, let's get to it. We're gonna start off by prepping our white powder. Mix it all together really nicely. It's basically flour, baking powder, a little sugar, and some salt. And then we're gonna shred some cheese. Whoa, shred some butter. This took forever, and I had to keep freezing it because I didn't want the butter to melt, and I almost cut my hand. And then once your butter is shredded, you're gonna mix everything together until it's kind of like this crumbly texture. And then once that's done, you're gonna add milk. I did not have regular milk. I only have almond milk, but I looked it up and it said that almond milk should be fine. So I just mixed the almond milk in there. And I think that's maybe why my biscuits turned out weird, but it doesn't matter. You're gonna mix it up until it's kind of combined, and then you're gonna put it on your flat surface with some flour and basically start kneading it like it's a pizza until it forms a dough ball-ish shape. And once that dough ball-ish shape is formed, you're gonna spread it out into like an inch thick piece. The recipe I was using said said not to roll it out. So I did my best to stretch it, and then I got little cookie cutters. I got the heart shape and the star shape, and I cut out the little pieces, and oh my gosh, it looked so cute. I had a vision for what I wanted, and that's what it came out like, and the vision was not executed at all. The vision did not vision properly, so we're gonna move on to the gravy. The gravy, you're supposed to use pork sausage or regular ground pork, so I just use ground pork, and basically you fry it up until it's kind of brown. It looks like brains, doesn't it? Then you add your seasoning. I did like garlic salt, oregano, rosemary, a little parsley. I just kept on adding seasoning until it tasted good. Then I added the flour and then mix that in really well, because that's what's going to thicken it. And then you're going to add the milk. Again, guys, I don't have regular milk, so we're just going to use almond milk. It doesn't taste weird. It tastes fine. And then I added some gochugaru, and I don't think I should have done this, but I didn't have white pepper, so it kind of turned everything this orange color, and it may or may not end up looking like dog food, but I promise you it tastes good. And here's me assembling the plate together, and yeah, it kind of just looks like prison food. I'm not gonna lie, it does not look very appetizing at all. The biscuits, I left them in the oven for too long, so they're a little bit hard and a little crunchy, but it still tastes good. I'm not gonna lie, this meal tasted really good, but it looks very disgusting. It looks pretty nasty, but it tastes good. Like, if I was to give it a rating, I would give this like a 7.5 out of 10. The star of the show is not even the bread portion. It is definitely the gravy. The gravy was good. The biscuits were disappointing. 7 out of 10. After a full day of catching L's, we're going to be making the dessert in which I catch another fat L, but let's just get right into it. So for the bread pudding, I started off with using some hamburger buns and some hot dog buns that I had, because that's literally the only stale bread that I had. I cut it up into cubes, I put it in a pan, and I tossed it in the oven to let that bake and get a little crispy, because people say you're supposed to have dry bread. So I made it dry. Then I'm making the custard. This is custard in quotes, filling, and it's basically some frozen egg whites that I had, eggs, some almond milk, added brown sugar, cinnamon, cardamom, cloves, nutmeg, you know, those kind of things, some extra whipped cream that I had because I ran out of heavy cream, and just mixed it all together. It looks kind of nasty, I cannot lie to you. It does look pretty disgusting, but I tasted it and it tasted fine. Okay, it tasted good, even though I'm not supposed to taste it because raw eggs. Then I buttered my pan that's going to be for the bread pudding, buttered it extremely liberally, then added my toasted bread. The bread actually looks really good here. Added the bread, poured the custardy mixture over it, made sure everything was soaked, added more bread, then I added more, or like the remaining of the custardy mixture, and I really went in there flipping everything over to make sure it was covered, because I've never had bread pudding, because I'm always skeptical. It seems like it's going to be a wet dessert, and I don't think, like, I don't know, I've always been very confused. Is it bread or is it pudding? So I've just never had it before, but here's what it looks like when it's baked. It was completely set, there was no liquid remaining, so I think it's soaked in as it should. I had a little trouble lifting it out, but we eventually got it working, and I put some condensed milk over it because condensed milk makes everything taste better, and as always, first bite is for your bestie. Tell me how it tastes, because for me it was very interesting in that I guess I like the crispy bits, but then the soft bits I was not a fan of. I don't know, I'm just very I don't know. I give this a 5 out of 10. I don't know how to feel about this dessert, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite at all. So that is my full day of eating bread for every meal, and I would say it was not as successful as a potato day, and it's not because bread is not good, it's because my skills are lacking, because I love bread. But anyways, thank you so much for watching, guys, and thank you for sticking around if you're still here. Please give me suggestions for what I should cook next. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, or if you have any critique for me, and see you on the next one. Thank you again. Goodbye.